a lot of our problems ourselves.
Donald's a postal worker in South Bend, Indiana.
Yes, hi. I just want to just make a quick comment. Daryl Issa, he's not our friend, and love him, but he's not our friend. Brother Guffey, just make sure you tell everybody out there that the post office is the way to go. We beat UPS's price, and we beat FedEx price. And when it's snowing outside, the post office is the only one that's moving around.
Donald, have you been participating in the protests that have been happening around the country?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I have. Yes, ma'am. I love it. Yeah. Hey, remember, this is not a bailout. It's our money, and we just want Congress to take that money and put it in the have us to have access to it so we can help the post office. It's not a bailout. We don't ask for no tax money from the American people. It's our money.
All right, Cliff Guffey.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling in. We did just have you asked about the demonstration. We just had demonstrations in 500 locations across this country. Everything from where we had 30 people to 60 to 100, 200 to 1,500. And we feel like the average was around 100 persons per place, and at 500 locations, that's 50,000 people. That's postal workers getting out and asking their congressman for help. I will not say that any congressman is not our friend. There's some that will support us more than others. I don't like to get into that type of partisanship or anything else like that. I just think that I just hope the government and the Congress can set aside a lot of differences and solve the problem. And it would not a bailout, but in a means that will allow the Postal Service to survive while the American people still respect it and need it.
Matt Smith has this tweet. Can our guest comment on why he thinks this pre-funding mandate was applied to the Postal Service? Does this apply to any other agency? Obviously, even Daryl Issa recognizes that this has not been put on to any other agency. I can only speculate because I was not in the rooms with these gentlemen when this thing came about. But anytime you say you cannot raise the rates to pay for something and put an additional $5.5 billion on there, you're setting up somebody to fail. And what this did is it caused, for the last 6 years, for the Postal Service to go down by at least $5.5 billion for the last 6 years. Without that, they would have been in the black. We've been struggling right now. We'd still have a lot of problems, but we'd be meeting those problems through negotiations and taking care of those problems. Well, how would you meet your pension responsibilities if you didn't have this in place?
Well, the pensions are there. They're being paid for separately. This is an additional $5.5 billion for future retiree health costs, which no one else does.
Well, how would you meet that without that mandate?
Even right now. Well, how does any other company in the world make it?
Well, sometimes they don't, and then the taxpayers have to step in.
I've never seen that. Well, for health care, no, they don't. They step in for pension. If their pension programs fail, the government will step in with a federal guarantee program. But not for the health.
Some turn to the automakers, though, and say part of the reason we had to bail out some of the automakers in this financial crisis.
But wasn't all that was been paid back now by GM and all these other companies?
Right, but it was because of their health care.
But we already have in that fund, future retiree health insurance fund, almost $40 billion. Okay, and why you keep like say and that's about 40 or 60%. Any private company who does that usually is only financed at about 30%. So we're overfunded there also. And we're not saying don't keep contributing to it, but don't do it over a 10-year period. Stretch it out over 30, 35 years, and therefore we can make sure it's funded. Now, they talk about if the post office fails. The post office owns $50 billion worth of property in this country that could be sold to help pay off things in the future also.
And you would agree to that?
Sure. If at some point in the future, if the post office fails, they should be selling off the property to pay the any debts. Taxpayers should not pick it up.
Back to our students. Ron Gatelin is joining us. Go ahead, Ron.
Good morning, Mr. Guffey. What actions are the American postal workers currently taking to try and revive the United States Postal Union on a local level?
The Postal Service, I'll answer it both ways. We have tried our best in these negotiations to provide lower cost employees, to provide flexibility,
to maintain offices and keep offices open longer without having to pay overtime. We've given the Postal Service the right to have flexible schedules. In other words, instead of someone working 8 to 5, now they can be scheduled, say, 8 to 7 and work 4 days a week or less days a week, but stay there longer so that they can keep the post office open when people get off work without having to pay overtime. We've done everything we can to work with the post office to help generate more revenue. We've given them the ability. There is a lot of situations out there where a lot of our union rules forced the post office to contract out work. I'll give you an example. Driving a truck from Oklahoma City to Dallas and back would require at least 10 hours a day. You'd have to drive down there, unload a truck, and bring it back. Well, if our work rule said 8 hours, it says contract the work out. Well, if we couldn't do it, then a contractor could charge whatever they really wanted to because the post office couldn't do it competitively inside. And we said we waived those rules, we allowed lower cost, we gave a percentage of non-career people, so that if the post office can save money by doing it internally, it gives them a chance to save money that way too. Instead of contracting it out because they couldn't do it inside, they can do it now internally without having the additional costs.
And are those ways to not only save money but increase revenue for the Postal Service?
Sure. I mean, a lot of stuff. If you kept the post office, my office in D.C. a block away, one of the hearts of the downtown area where a lot of lawyers take things to be registered, certified out in the evenings. We close at 5 o'clock. Of course, UPS and FedEx are open this stuff about closing post offices and saying we'll open up put a place in a supermarket or someplace. I have, to this day, after 35 years, I've never seen people carry parcels into a grocery store to mail them. They're going to go to FedEx or UPS. They're going to go to an alternative service, and that's not a way to build your business, to drive people to other customers.
There are ideas out there, one of them from Congressman Issa, and that is to allow advertising on the side of postal trucks. Do you think that is a good idea, and would that help with revenues?
It depends on the type of advertising. If it's family-friendly advertising, I don't want to see Budweiser on the side of the trucks. There's a lot of things to generate revenue. And the post office in small communities is where the flag flies. There should be other government services that are put into the Postal Service. I've already said I'm a veteran. I'm a disabled veteran. I can get a lot of my benefits or check my benefits online, but to do further get access into a greater depth, I must go to a VA facility, regional facility, which could be 150 miles, 200 miles from home. And I personally went 3 times before I found the person who was there who could do it. If you could do that at a post office, why not? It's just verification by a federal employee that you are who you say you are and give you access.
So sort of consolidate services.
Consolidate government services into the postal services.
In rural areas.
In rural areas, and even in large cities. There's no reason that the Postal Service is respected by 80% of the public. Congress by, 12% now. We think we have a position in the society and in the country that can benefit the country more if we were allowed to do the services that our hands are tied to prevent us from doing right now.
Carmen, she's a Democrat in Oakland, California. You're on the air with Cliff Guffey.
Good morning. This is totally unbelievable that in 2006 they have decided to destroy, Bush and his cronies decided to destroy the one entity in America that has been sustainable on its own without taxpayers' money, and all of a sudden you're saying that the post office has too many employees? Are you serious? When you are stealing, the government, the Republican government is crippling this country and taking everything from the American people. They're stealing your benefits. They're stealing billions of dollars. That helped them with their war chest. I can't believe it. I just can't believe. I thought it was all about email and Facebook and Twitter, the reason why the post office was going bad, but it's because of Bush.
Cliff Guffey.
Yes, it's a shame, but there are people in government who don't want government to work. They want